So we have two pieces of breaking news related to the indictment of Donald Trump. The first one coming in a letter from his lawyers who are arguing against cameras in the courtroom. Let me read a little bit from that. It says, "We submit that the media request should be denied because it will create a circus-like atmosphere at the arraignment, raise unique security concerns, and is inconsistent with President Trump's presumption of innocence." I want to bring in Carol Lamb, who is a former federal prosecutor and an MSNBC legal analyst. They write further, "We believe any photography or video of tomorrow's proceedings will detract from both the dignity and decorum of the proceedings and courtroom and will necessarily interfere with the fair administration of justice." This is what we predicted that they might do, but what do you make of the argument?
Well, these matters of whether video or photography or cameras are in the courtroom really lie solely in the discretion of the judge who's presiding over the trial, unless there's some kind of rule or legislation or court rule that governs it, and it doesn't appear to be the case in here. So, the public has gotten used to seeing proceedings in trials live on TV. I think that there are a lot of arguments for it. There are a lot of arguments against it. And a lot of it depends on what kind of control the judge keeps over the courtroom. I think that people tend to fall in place in a courtroom if the judge establishes sort of a command over the courtroom. But there's always the possibility that things get a little bit out of control, that people start playing to the cameras. It starts interfering with the administration of justice. Generally speaking, we've seen that jurors are not shown on camera. But I imagine that, of course, Donald Trump's lawyers don't want to have the visual of his sitting as a criminal defendant in the courtroom. And so it's really going to depend on what the justice in this case decides to do. And we're just going to have to wait and see.
Do you think there is an extraordinary argument here for the public interest because there is well, frankly, just look at the numbers of the criminal justice system, the media, for example, the lack of trust that many of the American people have. Is there, given the historic nature of this, an argument to be made that there is a compelling need for the American people to judge for themselves?
It's an area where technology has sort of gotten ahead of court rules and what people's expectations are. There is no constitutional right to have cameras in the courtroom. Proceedings do have to be open to the public, and generally speaking, until the last couple of decades, that has meant that you have people who attend the trial proceedings and can write about them afterwards. So I think there is an argument to be made that there is a compelling interest in making sure that the proceedings are portrayed accurately, and there's no better way of doing that than seeing it on camera. But the judge's first and foremost concern is going to be whether the administration of justice in that trial goes uninterrupted and is fair to both parties, the defendant and the prosecution. That is going to be the judge's call. But again, there is a constitutional right to have the proceedings be open. What form that takes, whether it's cameras or just reporters sitting in the courtroom, that again is in the judge's discretion.